Hi.
Hello.
Oh,
Oh, thank you so much for being here today, for joining
yeah,
us.
my pleasure.
I'm so excited. Well, I was thinking it was literally weeks before the pandemic hit that I was in your classroom.
That's right. That's right. That was a
Yeah,
crazy time.
it was.
too.
But we had no idea what was coming. We were just collecting herbs and making tinctures, and we had no idea of the chaos.
La 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 in the field with the calendula, the wild winter calendula. Yeah, and not to digress too much, but now 4 years later, I feel almost a little bit like, wistful for that time that was so quiet and, obviously a lot of negative things came out of that period of time of the pandemic, but collective wonder was really born because of the pandemic. I don't know if you know, but I was scheduled to move back to the United States, and the pandemic hit right when we were gonna fly back, and our plane tickets got canceled, and we stayed in Portugal, and if that wouldn't have happened, then collective wonder probably wouldn't have been born. So I think sometimes when you slow down and you cut things out of your life and you can really like tune into yourself, sometimes there's like a seed in there that really gets nourished and then is able to germinate.
Absolutely. The slowing down is so important. And that's what this winter is really all about, isn't it? Kind of trying to resist the urge. It's difficult when we live, I guess, in warmer climates because
Yes.
there's not so much during the day. The light is usually, depends on where you are in the country, but it's usually bright and there's not so much of that hibernation that you feel in the colder climates where we're used to.
Definitely.
But the message
Definitely.
is still to slow down. The longer night,
Yeah.
earlier nights.
And I love that you're doing this because, as an herbalist and somebody who's constantly thinking about the lessons that nature has to teach us, this time of year is often hard for me because there is this heightened feeling of pressure that you have to be social and you have to
Yeah.
go to the mall and do your Christmas shopping. And I mean, I know lots of people celebrate lots of things. Not everyone celebrates Christmas, but there is definitely like an emphasis on consumerism that I think a lot of us who are in tune to nature, or maybe people who want to be more attuned to nature, feel can be a bit toxic. So I love that you're doing this because I think it's this is such an opportunity this time of year not to be missed. It's an opportunity not to be missed to slow down. Hmm.
Absolutely. When I first started aligning myself to the winter rhythms and the seasonal changes, it was such a shift. And it
Mm,
makes so much sense. And that's what I want just to keep educating people about is that, you're absolutely right. This is a time when we're not aligned. We feel more stress and more anxious. And actually, it's just such a nurturing time of the year. We should feel really nourished this time of the year. So it's how
mhm.
to find those tools and have the resources to call upon to help us with that. And to help us navigate, we are social creatures, we live in society, and how to navigate that and how to navigate the pressure and maybe even learn how to ease some of that pressure and the expectations and this idea that we have to be Martha Stewart and make our own. There's just so much to do and when we're trying to reach perfection, which I feel with all the social media and things, everyone wants it feels like
Yes.
perfection is so easy to obtain nowadays. So,
Yes, and the time. I've been thinking a lot about time. Not Time the herb, but I mean, I think a lot about Time the herb too, but time as in like our live time. And it's I was hanging out with some really old trees a month
Mhm.
ago for a forest bathing experience that we were doing, for as part of our wild medicine series, and I just in the presence of these, like, 600-year-old trees, I realized, like, wow, like, your experience of time and what you represent and what you have to teach us about a lifetime is really deep, and just thinking about, like, how time is something that, um, we it's a resource,
Mhm.
that we have. I like, you and I were just talking about when you work for yourself, um, you kind of manage your time differently than people who have 9 to 5s, and
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know, it's just I've been thinking a lot about this, like, deep time and slow time, and what is it to, be conscious of how we offer our time and our attention. So, yeah, winter is another opportunity. That's one of the gifts of winter is that we have more nighttime, which really encourages us to go inside and have more of like a clearer vision and to sleep and to rest and be nourished. So, yeah, I hope that you're getting that this winter. I'm
Yeah.
definitely thinking about how to do that. But you're right. Here in Portugal, I don't know where people are tuning in from mostly, but here in Portugal, I definitely feel that spring energy that you can feel in the autumn before
Mhm.
we get into the full-on rainy season. And I was out yesterday on a walk because it was so sunny and lovely and still fairly warm, and I found so many herbs, and I was wildcrafting so many herbs, and I was like, "Wow, this is, like, such spring energy." I was harvesting chicory greens and lemon balm and plantain, and, just there's so much abundance actually at this time of year, which I know can feel a little bit different in different parts of the world, but I'm
Mhm.
very thankful for that here, that winter is still so abundant.
But even in the colder climates, like most people probably are tuning in from England, where I used to live, although I am American, but most of my community is British, and but there's still the different abundance. It's all the mushrooms, the wonderful mushrooms, which
Mhm.
before meeting you, I didn't really think of them as herbal medicine, and then you changed my world. Now I love mushrooms.
Aw, yeah, mushrooms is like a whole 'nother world, really. There's, I think there are people who sort of, like, start their herbal path and then they get into mushrooms and then they're just like, "Ooh," like, go into the mushroom world. I haven't that hasn't happened to me yet. I'm still very much attached to the green beings, and I keep staring over here in this corner because I have this beautiful rose from my garden who keeps
Mm,
calling my attention.
beautiful.
Yeah. So, um, I don't know if you wanna talk about anything else before I start jumping into specific herbs for
No,
keeping
I think
calm?
let's do it. I was
Okay.
wondering, yeah, how do herbs help us keep calm this season? Is my question to you.
Yeah, so this is I think one of my challenges as a teacher is to know how to narrow it down and simplify it because I feel like when I look at the plants, like, they're just so rich in story and, inspiration that it's hard to just, okay, what's, like, 5 minutes I can talk about this? But, rose has been a really big herb for me this year. When we
Mm,
first moved into our new house in Portugal, that was one of the first things that we planted was a couple of rose bushes, and, I also got a chance, a little bit more than a year ago to have a session with Annie McIntyre, who's also from the UK, and
mhm,
she did a class on flower medicine, and she has a wonderful book on flower medicine. And, she said something that was so simple, which is that just just them being in their beauty gives us medicine, right? We don't even have to harvest it or dry it or make a rose cordial, or make the rose water. We can just see it and be in its presence, and we're receiving so much medicine. And this is actually how I got into herbalism, was because I was out in nature and just falling in love over and over again with the aesthetic beauty of plants. And I think that's a really important medicine, especially when we're talking about slowing down, so that we know that even if we want to receive the medicine of plants, we don't necessarily have to learn all of these extra skills to, wildcraft and medicine make. Of course, we can do those things, but we don't have to do those things, right? We can just go out into our backyard and see the roses blooming and be in love with the rose. And
Literally stop and smell the roses. Exactly.
exactly, exactly. So the fact that plants call us with their beauty and with their scents in their living form, um, is such medicine. And, we're not the only ones, right? Like the bees and the butterflies, the other beings. Sometimes I find little baby snails like curled up inside of different flowers in my backyard. They're finding a home in that space. So it's just like so lovely to know that you're not the only one, right? Or not even the only species of beings that's receiving medicine from these beautiful plants. But rose as medicine is definitely a nervine. So nervine is the term that herbalists use to describe a medicine, a mushroom, an herb that has a healing action on the nervous system.
Mm,
So we have relaxing nervines. I would say rose falls more into that category. We also
mm,
have stimulating nervines like rosemary, which is another very well-known herb.
mm,
That's an herb that's also very aromatic, but gives you more of like a feeling of excitement and blood rushing to the head, and there's movement and warmth, whereas rose is more cooling and soothing and relaxing and definitely heart opening. And that's
mhm,
something that rose and rosemary have in common, is that they have an action on the heart, they have an affinity to the heart. Um, but yes, rose is, also has an affinity to the skin. So we use it a lot like on our faces, rose oil or scents. Rose is something that helps us feel more beautiful. And when we
mhm.
feel more beautiful, we feel more confident. We feel like we have more to offer to the world. We don't feel like we're having to shy away and run away, right? We can really give our gifts, right? Be our best versions of ourselves. So I love rose. One thing I learned recently about rose is that it's not only a nervine for the heart, but it also is a remedy for the mind. So
Mm,
it has like strengthening, it actually can strengthen the nerves, and your brain is full of millions and millions of neurons. And it's also very good for the digestive system. So, there's this deep connection between the brain and the digestive system.
mhm,
And we have this whole enteric nervous system of our gut. So, when you take rose medicine internally, you're not just helping the nervous system in terms of like how you're feeling, but you're also helping the gut, like the actual
mm,
mucosal lining of the digestive tract, to be more toned. So rose
mm.
is a digestive tonic. It works in so many ways. Yeah. Do you have any relationship to rose, Amy?
Well, yeah, thinking about rose and calm, literally, it is how I pull myself back to presence. I every time I pass a rose bush, I make it a point to stop and smell the roses, no matter what I'm doing, because it's that instant moment of grounding. It's so delicious, and it's like, yeah, this wave of joy and pleasure washes over you when you
Mm,
smell this beautiful rose. So it makes, and it feels like it softens my heart a little bit.
yeah,
So it makes so
exactly.
much sense. Yeah,
Yeah, I
and then
was
I think
thinking
about rose baths and, yeah, pampering
about
yourself.
rose.
Mhm. About bathing
You
in
said
the
you're
rose petals.
oh, yes. Yes, like
Yeah.
a rose bath. Mhm.
Mhm. So it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I love it.
Um, yeah, foot baths are another wonderful thing to do at this time of
Mhm.
year. I am totally addicted to foot baths. This was something I actually got into, because of a recommendation of my acupuncturist back in Baltimore, and,
Mm,
it was a few years ago now. I was having a really hard time at this time of year. A lot of people have, like, seasonal depression, and I was
mhm,
having a really tough time, and I reached out to her for support, and she said, just do, like, a hot, salty foot bath." And I did that, and it just, like, completely shifted things.
mhm,
And it's related to this kidney yin, right?
yeah,
So, I'm not trained in Chinese medicine at all. I'm a Western herbalist, but our kidneys are really where our life force comes from, right?
mhm,
It's that deep ancestral strength that we carry with us, and when the kidneys get depleted, we can just feel like, a really deep feeling of exhaustion, and, that can lead to overwhelm and feeling just like you wanna curl up and cry and not talk to anyone. And so these foot baths, like, were a total game changer for me, and I got really into doing them, and I love adding lavender essential oil. So that was the second herb I was thinking about sharing a little bit about today. And, this is maybe for people who aren't ready to start, like, growing all kinds of weird tasting herbs in your backyard or on your balcony or whatever, go out into a wild space and wildcraft. But maybe people who just are at that place where they wanna just go to a shop and get something that's, like, very accessible. And I would recommend, if you're in that boat, to find a really good quality lavender essential oil. I don't have any companies that I work with in particular, but, ask around if you know people who work with aromatherapy, and say, what's like a lavender essential oil that you like. Of course, something that's made locally is great, right? We have so many aromatic herbs here in Portugal that there's a lot of small batch distilleries that are making really nice small batch essential oils. But, I don't use a whole lot of essential oils. I only use them externally. But I think a little, just like 2 drops of lavender oil in a salty foot bath is amazing, is amazing, especially if you're the kind of person where you're just running around taking care of everyone else, not giving yourself any time. Um, it kind of forces you to sit still if you're doing a foot bath. Like, you literally cannot multitask, especially if you put your phone in a different room. Like, don't have any screens. You could have a book, but just put everything away in a different room. Make your foot bath, sit in your foot bath, say, I'm going to sit here until the water cools down, and just breathe, and really imagine that salt and that scent going to the kidneys. It's incredible. It's an incredible thing to do for yourself.
with
Um,
rose
and then
petals? Would you put
you could
rose
add
petals?
yeah, you yeah, you can definitely do that. Yeah.
'Cause rose
Um,
rose essential oil is one of the most expensive, isn't it? I remember that from
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
It's very, very expensive. Um, Now I wanna also share, so we've talked about stopping and smelling the roses, and
Mhm.
that you can do, even if you any rose that you have growing that's not sprayed, you can collect and dry the petals and make a tea, or you can put the fresh petals in your bath. That's really
Mhm.
lovely. You can put a little bit of lavender essential oil, some sea salt, and just have that water, like, as hot as you can stand it.
Mhm.
Um, and then I wanted to also share about some internal remedies that people maybe who are feeling a little bit more like ready to get fully witchy in the in the kitchen.
Let's do it.
Um, so kind of in the same vein for people who are stressed out because they have a lot of responsibilities in caregiving to other people, or trying, like what you were kind of saying, like, sometimes if you're hosting or if you're spending time with family, that's not your immediate family that you're with every day, you can feel a lot of pressure to, like, cook a certain thing or have the house clean, or put the fancy clothes on or whatever to go to the holiday party.
Yes.
And, that can be very stressful sometimes when we're just in more of a winter mood. So, I have a couple more herbs that I wanna talk about here that are actually also heart herbs, and they all have a little bit of different personality. So, and all of these I have in my backyard growing. So, these are possible for you to grow. This is motherwort. This is
Mm.
Leonaris cardiaca, and this is the young leaf of Leonaris cardiaca. So, in her young phase, she's very soft, actually. It's almost like a kitten's ear. That's how soft it is.
Mhm.
And the leaf is very green and wide. But as she grows, the plant gets kind of prickly and the leaf looks more like claws. And the common name for this is motherwort. And this is the herb for mothers, but also for people who have, like, issues with mothers, right? So maybe you're going to see your mother or your mother-in-law, and there's some issues there, and that's the source of your stress. I would recommend motherwort because it's a wonderful herb for tending to the heart. It
Mhm.
actually has a specific indication for, balancing arrhythmia. So if you're somebody who, when you get stressed out, you start to get that, like,
Mhm.
pounding of the heart, um, and you really start to feel your heart in your body, and you're like, "Whoa, okay, I'm stressed. I'm having anxiety right now. I'm having a symptom of heat." Um, this is a great calming herb. So, because this herb is not as nice tasting as rose, or even like a lavender glycerite, this is a very bitter herb. So I make a tincture, which is an alcohol extract of motherwort, and I carry this around with me in my little travel bag. So I have like a little herb bag that I carry around with me, and I just keep my, like, essential things that I always want to have with me. And when I'm feeling overwhelmed and I'm feeling kind of like scattered and like easily triggered by things, this is definitely an herb that I go to a lot. So there's a couple ways you can take motherwort. When you're taking tinctures, it's in this kind of brown liquid form. And you can just put a couple of drops right on the tongue and it will act very quickly. You can also, like, if you have your little herbal tea, and then you can add a dropper to your herbal tea. And this is really great for folks who have insomnia, who are kind of restless at night, can't seem to, like, turn off. Tinctures are great for insomnia because you can just like roll over and grab your tincture bottle and put a couple drops in your mouth and then go back to sleep. And it's fast acting. It's easy to take. You don't have to get up out of bed and make a cup of tea and then worry about having to pee 20 minutes later. So yeah, so motherwort is wonderful. And then I thought I'd talk about an herb that is very, very common in Portugal, which is lemon balm. So this is a little lemon balm I just got from my garden. This grows wild here.
Love-
This
Yeah.
is I never saw lemon balm growing wild until I came to Portugal. So I was really like amazed when I came here and I was like, "What? Like you're just like growing under this tree. That's amazing." And of course, the scent of lemon balm is a very uplifting scent.
Mhm.
So this herb you can put fresh in cool water with maybe like a slice of lemon and just let it sit on the table. If you're having some guests over, it's a very friendly herb.
Mhm.
I like the cool water infusion of lemon balm. The aromatic properties like come out more easily. Yeah, do
Mm.
you ever do this as a tea or anything?
As a tea, I have it growing all over my garden, but never in cool water. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, give it a try.
Mhm.
You can also add it to, make like a syrup or a glycerite. That sweetness, that honey flavor
Mhm.
kind of accentuates the sweetness of the lemon balm.
Yes. And I remember learning with you last time how it's very good for our nervous system, right? I remember that
Oh,
was my
yeah,
kind of
it's considered a
one.
nerve tonic.
Yeah, yeah. That's been my go-to since since our last time together.
Nice. And do you usually take it as like a hot tea or do you take a tincture of it?
Yeah, so I never actually got around to making a glycerite, but I did buy the glycerin. I did buy the glycerin, but yes, I usually just make the tea.
Nice. Yeah, you should try a cool water infusion. I feel like there's a sweetness and a demulcency that comes out when we do the cool water infusion of lemon balm. When you do the
Mhm.
hot water infusion, it can be a little bit more bitter. Um, but yeah, one of my favorite nighttime teas is lemon balm, chamomile, and lavender. And
Mm,
if you have tilia is also really
mm,
nice.
mhm.
Yeah. There's so many herbs. I was sitting down writing these notes for today, and I was just like, "Oh, I could just go on forever about all of these plants." Um, but yeah, maybe I'll just say if people wanna learn more, if
Mhm.
people like what they're hearing and are interested, I have some programs that are actually gonna start in January and February, so they're coming right up. Um, I started a small herb school here in Portugal in 2021, and we just finished our third year of programs, so it's very exciting. And so far, we've done two programs every year. One is an online program. You can enroll from anywhere. We have people from the UK, we have people from the US, we have people from all over Portugal. Um, we've had, people from Spain. It's taught in English. It lasts from January through November, and it's a synchronous online program. So you join in a cohort, you're with a group. We usually have about 25 or 30 people, so it's very intimate. We have live Zoom sessions 2 times a month, and there's 9 modules, each focused on a body system. And you're working your way through the body systems, and we have guest teachers, and it's really a fun program. There's a lot of medicine making instructions. There's a lot of learning about the interconnection of body systems from a holistic perspective. Of course, we learn about lots of herbs and herbal actions and ways to work with them and how to use them safely and effectively. and even a little bit of like herb gardening. That's definitely not the focus of the program, but we try to inspire people to at least grow a few herbs wherever they are, and some wild crafting. And we have a WhatsApp group, so it's very much like, um it's engaging for an online program. I hear that it's very much, it's a success in its community building
Mhm.
goal, so that's good. And then
Congratulations.
we have yeah, thanks. And then we have a in-person program, which is really different in a lot of ways because it's not theoretical. It's not like any reading or homework assignments or anything like that, but it's more, um, just like getting in nature. It's in central Portugal where I live in Alvaiazer, which is near Tomar, and
Mhm.
we're just outside looking at plants, being with plants, making stuff with plants, sometimes talking to plants, and and just having fun in community with fellow plant lovers. And it's called Wild Medicine Making, and that's
Mm.
1 day a month from February through June. So there's 5 full days of wild crafting and medicine making, and it's super fun. We feast on vegan food, that's home cooked by my friend Ellie, and it's amazing. So if people want to check that out, they can check out collectivewonderherbschool.com. It's super fun. It's super
It is.
fun. Yeah,
Yes, I vouch for that, and you'll see me again for sure because I just love it. I get so excited, and there's always so much more you can learn every time. Just today I learned so much more about a rose that I wasn't expecting rose to be on today's agenda. But yeah, it's just magical how the most simple, common plants all around us can have such a valuable effect and be such an amazing resource for us. So thank you.
absolutely. And the other thing I wanted to make sure I shared today was that, in some ways, I think every plant is a nervine because
Mhm.
is a herb that helps the nervous system, because just being with them, being with them is real medicine, and being in their presence and learning from them, and the kind of grounded vibrancy that they offer us, and just going outside, is such good medicine.
Mhm.
um, so yeah, I think the plants are here for us, and I hope that we can keep showing up for them.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's the important connection, right? When we connect more with the natural world, we want to protect it more. We value it more. It becomes something we don't want to lose. We don't want to see, paved over in concrete and cement. We want to see wild things and life flourish because we see how interconnected we all are. So I think, yeah, there's much more to herbal medicine than just the medicine. It's such a big thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's the deeper medicine of just the sense of connection that it gives you. Yeah, exactly what you're saying.
Mhm. And and it's endless. It really is endless. I mean, you could literally talk all day about all the different herbs we could take, and even we haven't even touched upon dried versus fresh and all the different extraction
Yeah,
methods. There's so
I
much to
know. I know I brought all these things like next to my computer because I was like, I don't want to forget to talk about that. I mean, this is how I do my teas. Like, first of
Mhm.
all, right, is you get a
Yeah.
good French press, and then you make a big batch of loose tea. What's in here is a tea that I blended for myself called my self-love tea. So
Mm.
every time I feel like I need a little bit more self-love, I put that tea together. And then I added some lemon verbena, which is another kind of lemony scented plant that's very popular here in Portugal. Almost every old
Mhm.
lady I know has a lemon verbena plant. Here in
Mhm.
Portugal, it's called Lusa Lima, and that's such a lovely aromatic to put into like whatever you're drinking in the winter because it's so uplifting and
Mhm.
calming. And there's chamomile in there, and there's some tulsi, which is also an adaptogen in addition to being a nervine. And, I love teaching people the body systems because I think it's so cool when you can understand, like, oh, wow, this plant has an affinity to the immune system, but it also has an affinity to the heart, and it also acts as a nervine. And then you see that, like, this plant really has its own personality in, like, how it has an affinity to, like, the systems. And then when you study um, imbalance in people, sometimes you're deeply listening to someone, and they say, oh, well, my digestion is off and my immune system is off and I'm stressed out. And you think, okay, what is the plant that has an affinity for those specific systems, right? Like there's always a plant or a formula that's like so specifically attuned to rebalancing not just one disease, but all of these systems that are working together in their own web. Yeah, there's so many herbs I have here. I feel like we're probably running out of time, but, I could talk about astragalus, I could talk about hawthorn, like violet. These are some other friends I brought to my table today. But,
Well,
yeah, please.
maybe we can share that in the email that follows this. Maybe we can
Yeah,
share just a little bit of what you didn't get to today,
great.
and
Yeah, I
people
have some
some practical
slides
herbs.
I can share.
Brilliant. And the
Thank you
tea, I
so
think
much
that's
for.
important. Oh, sorry. I just wanna
Yes.
keep going, but yes, we should wrap it up.
That's fine, we can keep going. Yeah, tea, I mean, I think that the basic rule, I feel like it's always strange when I don't know who I'm talking to because I feel like people have different levels of understanding about herbs, but let's just
Mhm.
assume you don't know anything about herbs. Like, tea is, done in a few different ways. Like when we talked about the lemon balm and the cold infusion, right? This is when you
Mhm.
make a cold infusion, which is really just with room temperature water, it doesn't have to be cold. You want to steep it for longer, but you want to basically capture the aromatics. When you pour hot water on something, a lot of the aromatics are lost unless
Mm.
you put like a plate or something over your teacup, um, because they're volatile, right? They're volatile oils that are going into the air. So we want to really keep all of those delicious aromatic properties in the water. So if you do a overnight cool water, or like if you're having dinner and you make it during breakfast and then you have the tea during dinner, it's a way of really actually getting more of the aromatics. And hot water just makes things happen faster, right? So you can do a hot water infusion with aromatics and then put a lid on top and also maintain some of those. And aromatics are so important when we're talking about the nervous system because a lot of times it's those aromatic properties that are actually working on the nervous system and working to relax or working to stimulate. Um, yeah. And then if you wanna do something that's more of like a bark or a berry, you have to do a longer tea, right? So this is hawthorn berry that I wild crafted and then dried, and
Mm.
it's whole berry and it's dried. So in order to get the medicine really out of that, I have to decoct it. So you
Mhm.
put it in a pan and you simmer it, and you could add cinnamon sticks. Another one that I really like to make as a decoction is astragalus root, which is also very good this time of year because it strengthens the immune system, helps us feel like we have a force field around us, which can also be good when we're going to holiday functions. So yeah, you could do like a hawthorn, astragalus root, cinnamon decoction, which sounds really yummy. Yeah, lots of ways to play around with the herbs.
So much to learn. It's more than just making a cup of tea. That's what I learned when I was with you. It was like, oh, it's not just put some hot water and then 2 minutes later drink it. It's really, and it should be like a ritual. It's that's also part of the process of finding the calm. I mean, there are tea masters that make these beautiful meditations through making tea in such a mindful way. So, yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Olivia. Thank you for sharing your time this afternoon. I
You're
can't wait to see you
welcome.
again.
Yes.
Give you a big hug.
Thank you. And I hope this is helpful to all your listeners and subscribers. And I really appreciate that you invited me. It's my greatest joy to talk about herbs. So anytime anybody invites me to talk about herbs, I'm very happy to do it. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
I'm so, so honored that you said yes and you're here talking with us. We'll see you
And I
very
hope you have
soon.
a calm holiday. Okay. Take
Yes.
care.
Well, I'm learning from all of the best how to stay calm this Christmas. I love the motherwort. I love that. That was such
Mm,
a fun little tip. Kisses to
great.
you.
Yeah, if you want to plant, I'll bring you a cutting. You can put it in your yard. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Well, we'll
Okay.
see you soon. Take care, and I'm
Bye.
going for my foot bath soon, for
Oh,
sure.
yes. Do it. Take
Oh,
care.
thank
Bye.
you.